My thing with Stephen A has always been, I don't believe that he genuinely believes all the takes he says. Now, questions from the audience. I would love to do this segment every week, but unfortunately the NBA playoffs has kept me way too busy. WNBA season, March Madness, busy months, but we're here now. Thank you to everybody that submitted. Be on the lookout every Monday, Tuesday, whichever day, on all social platforms at BK Beloved, and you'll see the Ask Me Anything prompt. You'll be able to ask a question and get on the podcast. Just like this. Do you think OBJ will make an impact on the Dolphins? They got Hill, Waddle, and Berrios. So we're gonna do the OBJ thing again, huh? Let's look at OBJ from last year. At 31 years old, fresh off of tearing his knee again, taking a whole season off because he did not sign with a team. 35 receptions for 565 yards, 3 total touchdowns. I don't know what you want from me, man. The league is better with Odell in it. I'm not saying he should retire, but expecting him to be an impact player at this point in his career, no way, not a chance. Too many injuries, too advanced of an age, and at this point you're expecting him to be wide receiver 3 at best, probably 4. I can't see it, man. I just can't see it. Salute to him, though. He gets to live in Miami for a year. That's a plus. Thanks for the question. If Jrue wins another chip and continues his career trajectory, does he get Hall of Fame consideration? Now, at first, my immediate answer was yes, but the more I looked into his numbers, I realized that Jrue Holiday is going to be one of those you just had to be there type of players, because his career numbers are not nearly as impressive as you would think they are. Points per game, we're at 16.4. Assists, we're at 6.4. Rebounds, we're at 4.2, and just under 2 stocks a game. That's steals and blocks combined. 2-time All-Star, 6-time All-Defense, no Defensive Player of the Year trophies, which is an absolute travesty. No All-NBAs, and Basketball Reference has a Hall of Fame index probability, which is a weird feature, and I don't think it's an exact science, but sure, it's on the site. And his is at 0.8%. But in the past, let's say 4 or 5 years, if you asked any player, every NBA player that's been on a podcast has been asked who's the hardest person that's ever guarded them, damn near to a man, they have all said Jrue Holiday, including the fact that we watched him be an integral part of that Milwaukee Bucks team that won the title in 2021. And if we're talking about winning the chip and continues the trajectory, we're just going to assume the Boston Celtics are going to win this title. And if the rest of the series goes the way it's been going, he's going to be Finals MVP. So that'll be 2 rings, a Finals MVP, integral part of 2 titles, including the MVP in the second one, widely regarded as the best perimeter defender of his era for about a 4 or 5 year span. It's kind of like, numbers be damned, I was there. How is he not a Hall of Famer? But the numbers are not going to bear that out. This might end up being one that we're arguing with our grandkids about. Nah, dog, you had to be there for Jrue Holiday. This is different. Because to me, after this ring, it solidifies him in the class of, if we're doing the first team all perimeter defense, it's Scottie and Rodman are in the era of their own. They're in their own different class and tier. Then we start getting into the Kawhi, Iguodala, and then Jrue Holiday. You can put those 3 in whatever order you want. So short answer, yes, I think he should be a Hall of Famer. And the NBA Hall of Fame isn't that high of a bar anyways. I think for sure the person who's going to be a Hall of Famer when the Celtics win this championship is Al Horford. I think that's solidified. He has the most playoff games now without winning a chip, which I definitely should have looked up how many games that was before I started recording. But I'm just thinking of this now. Shit happens. You solidify that with getting a ring, it's kind of sealed at that point. Thanks for the question. Based on roster before cuts, can you do a record prediction for each NFL team? So I'm saving that for a podcast about a month or so from now, because I'll be honest, I have not been deep diving into the NFL since the NFL draft, really, because around then was March Madness, NBA playoffs, obviously, WNBA season. It's been a lot going on between the NFL draft and now. So NFL talks kind of put on the back burner. Obviously, I'm always watching football, something news will come across your timeline, that and the third. But to give you a full preview now would be doing you a disservice, and I don't get down like that. So come back in a month. We might go division by division again. I may or may not have guests. I haven't fully planned this out yet. Not gonna lie to you. Kind of wait until the end of the finals to put my football shit together, but we'll get there. Don't worry. Thanks for the question. Is Shanahan a fraud if the Niners don't win the Super Bowl this year? So I've done my fair share of shitting on Shanahan on this podcast, I'll admit it, including one of my favorite thumbnails I've ever made on this channel when they lost the Super Bowl. I think it's Shanahan sitting sad next to a table and it says choked again. It looks like an R&B cover. Love that picture. But it's not because I think he's a fraud. I just don't think he's God's gift to coaching the way NFL media tries to convince you he is. And I feel like there's a middle ground somewhere in there that we keep trying to act like there isn't. But Kyle Shanahan's been the head coach of the Niners for only 7 years. And if you remember, they were a dumpster fire before he got there. 4 NFC championships, 2 Super Bowl appearances, and a 56% winning percentage, which is heavily weighed down for the fact that it seems like somebody always is dealing with a major injury on that roster, whether it be a bunch of defensive players, a quarterback. Injuries come in waves for that team, which is my concern for them this season, but we'll get there when we start doing previews. And he's not even 45 yet. You can compare the trajectory of his career to an Andy Reid when he was in Philly, but if we're doing by that metric, he's already ahead of Andy because Andy didn't make it to a Super Bowl at this point yet. He's been to 2. And looking into this year, again, haven't deep dove into the NFL season yet, but the top of the NFC looks like a bloodbath. They will be seeing the Lions again coming into this season. They will be seeing the Packers again coming into this season. I can't put my name on nothing else yet, but you get my point. They're going to have to deal with a lot. So if they end up not making it, how angry can you really be? However, if they don't make it to the Super Bowl and win it this year, there's going to have to be some retooling done because just how those rosters are set up, Brock Purdy's going to have to get paid at some point. So there will be some reconfiguring, but Shanahan's not a fraud. Let's revisit this conversation in like 5 to 10 years. If he still has a 1-1, then we can talk. But come on. Thanks for the question. Next, my favorite question that has been submitted. Thoughts on the downfall of Stephen A. and First Take. So we touched on the Monica McNutt bit last week when we were doing the Caitlin Clark / the why does everyone think WNBA players were jealous segment. I'll put a little bit of the clip here.
Now we got to sit up here and watch every syllable. I resent that. And I'll leave it at that.
All right, so let me, I know we got to go to break. Welcome to the world of being a woman, Stephen A., and how you have to dance about your word choice and you have to please everybody and anybody as you navigate your being. We are talking about the world's greatest
How about being a black man?
Being black. Hold on 1 second.
Have you?
So this is what I'm saying to y'all.
He had another little, I don't even want to call it an argument, little interaction with Andrea Carter on First Take. Love Andrea Carter, by the way. She's my favorite basketball analyst on ESPN.
You better hear me and hear me good. I am telling you right now, you are going to be underpaid for the rest of what I believe will be an illustrious career, unless you get your mind right about that marketing. It matters. It matters. Janae, you know I'm right.
I hear you.
You know I'm right.
I hear you, Stephen A., but I will not sacrifice my basketball knowledge and my integrity in terms of the game for marketing.
There's a very weird sports debate doc on ESPN Plus that if y'all want me to do a full review on, I will. But he produced it himself, and it's an ESPN project where they're basically covering themselves and how sports debate television revolutionized sports media. Meanwhile, there's people like Dan Levitard and Dan Patrick that say that it ruined sports media, and they are not alone in that thought. But as far as the downfall of Stephen A., it kind of depends on what you mean by that, right? Because by all the metrics that they're looking at, they're still the #1 sports show in the world. I don't think they're exactly going for sports Emmys here, and their metric has always been ratings, and I think the metric moved to now engagement. And Stephen A's always told us what he values. He's never claimed to be the best NBA analyst in the world. He's never claimed to be the best X's and O's and host. And what does he always say? I have the #1 rated morning sports show or sports show, whatever the hell metric. And if the metric is now changed to engagement, in order to keep the thing he values most, that's what he's going to keep going to. And if you look at the ESPN business model, especially if you start looking at the way they do their social media, to their YouTube thumbnails, everything, they're kind of going with the whole all press is good press, all comments is good in comments, all engagement is bad engagement or whatever. They're just really the engagement bait, rage baiting thing has just become company policy, for better or for worse. My thing with Stephen A has always been, well, for one, I don't believe that he genuinely believes all the takes he says. In his core, I don't believe he believes them, or I don't believe he actually cares that much. If you're someone who values ratings as much as he does, and you're always fighting to keep the thing you value the most, I think eventually the thing that's gonna get the most ratings and your genuine thoughts start to blend after a little bit. So I don't know if his mind immediately goes to, oh, this is gonna rip on Twitter, or that's just the way he naturally thinks now after being on First Take for 11 years. I don't know, but that's just how it comes off to me. And let's be honest, there's been a lot of people that have been waiting on Stephen A. Smith's downfall because First Take has been so successful for so long. I know there was a lot of people who thought First Take was going to fail when Skip Bayless left the show because he started the show. And Stephen A's stars only continued to rise, and then after getting rid of Max Kellerman, where I think the quality of the show went down, but the ratings went up with the rotating cast, and it's clearly they know something that we don't. Is First Take in its current iteration for me? No, it's not. Only time I watch First Take stuff is when I know it's a major story and I'm gonna have to talk about it on here. I'll be honest. For my own personal enjoyment or entertainment, I'm just not tuning in like that. But clearly I'm in the minority because that shit's on ESPN. It's the biggest sports show in the world. And as much as we love our content creators, YouTubers or whatever, they're not doing First Take numbers. I love Kenny in the Fourth. I love Theo Ash. They're not doing First Take numbers. And hey, they're not aiming to do First Take numbers. They're doing what they love to do. And that is fine. Everyone has their own lane. Everyone's doing what they want, and that's all cool. The downfall I find a lot more interesting, though, is Shannon Sharpe. Because I was a much bigger Club Shay Shay fan last year-ish because it was a lot less messy than it became post-Cat Williams. Because he started chasing that high, too, after he saw how much that Cat Williams interview ripped. And a lot of people were coming on to the Club Shay Shay to try and get their Cat Williams moments too. So it's not all his fault. Let me shoot him a little bit of bill here. And I saw the public perception of him change too. Because before that, he was just everybody was on his side after his Skip Bayless fallout. Because we want to see a black man win. You know how we get down. We see a black man get wrong, we all with him. We like, hell yeah, get your money. But another part of it is, I think more people like the concept of Shannon Sharpe as opposed to his actual content of what he was doing. And once they started digging in and started watching a Nightcap, where it gets a little more of those regular nigga on a podcast mic dating topic type things, chasing those trending topics that you know is gonna rip on social, but like, you're 56, my brother, you don't gotta live like this. And I gotta put this clip in here.
You said that he and JJ had that podcast, Mind the Game, and it's supposed to be X's and O's. Let me tell you something. If you ever want to start a podcast, and this is what I tell Stephen A., you got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to branch out. Because if all you talk about X's and O's, it ain't gonna last very long.
When he said the X's and O's thing in that clip, it really broke my heart a little bit. Because, Shannon, it hurts that you feel that way. Because not only are you a Hall of Fame tight end and one of the best ever, the offense you played in was Shanahan Sr.'s offense, which a lot of that DNA is all over the league by way of Shanahan Jr., especially in the run game. It's very similar. And you'd be able to perfectly explain that to people and still do the other stuff you want to do. I don't think it's an either or proposition. You could do both. But again, they're much more successful than I am. The same day this podcast comes out, whatever clip that I think me and Club Shay Shay dropped the same day. So put my numbers next to Club Shay Shay's, and if he hears this by some miracle, he'll tell me to shut the fuck up because clearly he knows something I don't. So hey, who am I to judge? All right, hopefully that rambling made sense. Thank you everybody for listening. I've been Kev Ow. Hit myself in the face on the mic. I have been Kev BK, beloved. I will catch y'all next week.